Great. Now we have come to an understanding of what is a method and what is a class, and how the self notation is used to reference the attributes of an object within a class, right? And then we were able to reference that particular class object and then call upon those methods by using the variable of a reference that we have used in the previous example. In this session, let's learn about what is inheritance. Now, inheritance is a way to form new classes using the classes that have already been defined. That's very important. So, inheritance happens where you are inheriting certain properties of a parent class, and in some ways we are creating a class object within an existing class object where some of the attributes or properties of that particular object are or class are inherited by its parent. So, the newly formed classes will be called as derived classes, and the classes that we derived from are called base classes, or in some languages it is also called a parent class and a child class. It is something similar to that. And important benefits of inheritance are helping to reuse existing code, or try to reduce the complexity of a particular program. Now, the derived classes, also called as children or descendants, override or extend the functionality of base classes, or parents are also called ancestors. Now, let us see an example on incorporating our previous work on the dog class that we created, and I will show an example on my screen here. Great. Let us come up with an example of how inheritance works on my screen. I have Jupyter Notebook back on the same notebook that we've been working on, and I'm going to create a class called animal, and it takes an object, right? And when I say object, we can start defining them. The first one, let's start with defining the method, special method itself. We're not going to create any class attribute like we created earlier, and then I'll say print animal created, so we know what time what gets created. All right, and after that I'm going to create another method which will just say who am I. It takes in self. I'm referencing the self. When I create a who am I, this method belongs to the animal class, and how do I bring that relation is by typing the word self. The moment I type self, Python allocates this particular method to the animal class that we have created, and then I say print animal. Great, and then I'm going to create a method and assign it to the dog class, and it's a eating, right? Now let's create another class. Yeah, so I'll say class dog. Now this time what I will do is I will call the above class. So this particular class will inherit all the methods inside of animal. I'll show it in the example, and let's every time we create a class we instantiate it. Okay, and then I can also instantiate the animal class like this. Yep, and then we say dog class created, or just say dog created. Now I'll create some more functions like this. I'll create the same method. There's one method inside of animal. I'm creating the same method with the same name, but inside of the dog, just to demonstrate how it works. So here the who am I will be a dog, but here who am I will print animal. Let's see how that works if I have the same methods, and how does it work. And then I have something like this, okay, just to make it interesting. Now what should happen here if I need to create a reference, right? So I'll do something like this. Okay, so the moment I do this, it should instantiate this, and while instantiating it, it also has a task of this dog will instantiate not only dog class but also animal class here, and then it should print something. And if you notice, if we are creating the animal class, then it also has to instantiate this and then also print this. So let's see which one gets created first, right? So great. So when I said animal created, it actually first, when we ran dog said, hey, I have a reference class of animal, and is there an animal class existing? It says yes, animal class does exist. Is there a instantiate method written by the programmer? And then it returns yes, there is one. So okay, let's instantiate that method. Is there anything else there is in apart from instantiating in the method? Oh yes, there is a print statement. Let me go ahead and print that first. All right, I've print the statement. Now I need to create the dog. Right. So is there a method that will instantiate that particular class? Then is yes, there is one. All right, I've instantiated it. Is there anything else that I need to do? Of course, there is a print statement, and that should say dog created. Great, I did that, and I'm done. So that's what exactly happened, and then we have the two classes created. Now what happens? Now I can call upon those methods, right? So this was our method, and then let's see what happens. If I do this, it says bound method dog dot who am I of main dog object. So this is some sort of an error that we're getting because I haven't put this, and now we got the dog, right? Right. So I do this. Oops, it's eat, and then it get eating, and I can also do. So all my dog methods are working. Now in this example, we have like you've seen, we have two classes, animal and the dog. Now let's go over the basic definition before we. I know you have a lot of questions, but before we get there, and I answer some of them which I expect are likely to be in your mind. Let's say we have two classes, animal and dog, right? This is animal and this is dog. Now the animal is the base class. Okay, so this is base class, and this is derived class. Oops. Right. So the derived class inherits the functionality of the base class. Now if you notice, I did a eat method, right? Do I have a eat method inside the dog? No. Eat method comes from the animal, and it says it prints the method that we have, and the derived class modifies the existing behavior of the base class. That's what we saw in the example who am I, right? And finally the derived class extends the functionality of the base class by defining a new bark method that we have here. Right. Now finally, let's go over the special methods in the next class, but for now I hope you understood how inheritance works, what's a base class, and how it overrides what's a derived class, and how the derived class overrides in this case who am I overrides certain methods of the parent class. All right, great. So let's see in the next class where we'll discuss about special methods.